Alright. Okay. Alright. 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 Okay. This one's not that bad. You guys know at this point, I'm not the biggest fan of Lil Yachty. Even Lil Boat, I thought, only had like 3 or 4 good songs on there. Even though a lot of people thought it was like, a really good trap rap album, starting a new change in the era of trap rap. It certainly had an influence at the time, had a bit of a ripple effect. But to be honest, only really tracks like Minnesota and One Night were the ones that I liked the most, to be honest. A few others on there as well, but we know it got a lot worse after that when he released Teenage Emotions, and boy oh boy was that bad. Some of his worst songs ever on the Peekaboo with Migos, that was funny. I mean, actually, you know what? I think that album to me ended up being funnier than it was bad. Like, I know a lot of people hated the album, but I remember thinking, I dislike it, but I got a few laughs out of it because of his ridiculous lyrics about what was that cello line that was just so stupid, but it was so funny, and there were just so many so bad it's good moments. And then he released Lil Boat 2 at the start of the year, and oh my god, I'm not sure if I'll do a worst of albums list, but spoilers for that list, if I do it, Lil Boat 2 will be on there. It's gonna make it. Really hated that album. Like, every moment just felt awful. I couldn't really pull apart any moments that were actually quite good. Guap or whatever it was, the Boom song, just like, awful. Like, his hooks on there were atrocious. I just didn't get how people were coming out of it saying it was good. There were a few critics that I respect that liked it. I didn't get it. I just didn't get it. It just irritated me the whole way through. And so, like, what? We're like 5, 6, 7 months after the release of that, something. We have nothing to prove. And yeah, there are actually some nice tracks on here, I must say. I like Lil Yachty when he has some pretty, like, nice instrumentals and he's just singing over them. He kind of is aware that he's not a good singer. He's not really a great lyricist. I think he owns it on this one though. Like, everything that made the past 2 albums bad, I think he owns it a bit better this time. When I say it's an improvement though, there are still some awful singing moments on here, like the track with Trippie Redd. I swear Trippie Redd is just getting worse as time goes on. I'm sure when I first heard him I thought he sounded good, but every time I hear him now on any feature or even on that album that he had earlier in the year, I'm just hating him even more and more. The track with Kevin Gates, having Kevin Gates on your song in 2018 probably shows how far behind you are as an artist, I must say. Like, seriously, this guy is never been good, and I just don't understand why he's even on this album. It doesn't fit the vibe or the flow. It was just so random. Got Fallen in Love with Gunna. Again, Gunna just adds nothing in any aspect of being a rapper in the modern day. He really just doesn't stand out at all, and this track was terrible as well. Like, these all come towards the end, which is a shame because I feel like it just has like a nice little beginning where it feels like there are some major improvements. Some of the instrumentals are genuinely pretty. Like, I think they have a pretty sound to them, which surprises me because I just haven't heard this kind of style from him in a while, and I guess I forgot that he can actually create some really soft, cute trap ballads that not many people today really pull off, I wouldn't say. Even in the emo rap trap world where you've got artists like Juice WRLD, I don't think they could pull off this kind of thing at all. It's important to recognise as well that Yachty was on this sound quite a few years ago, and it's interesting to see that more artists are coming through, like Juice WRLD, who's on this album too. I'm sure there is some kind of crossover there between those artists. Don't really think this track's all that great, but it doesn't sound all that bad either. That's kind of the threshold for me with this one though. Like, I've been so critical of Lil Yachty for so long that I'm just listening to songs and thinking to myself, this doesn't sound that bad, which isn't really the way to go into an album, is it? I mean, you know, you should be recognizing the qualities, but it's just that for me, I just feel like he's been crafting awful music for just so long now that that's kind of how I'm expecting these songs to be. Like, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be bad, but then they end up being slightly better than I expect. And the first two listens of this album for me were horrendous. Like, I couldn't pull out anything from it, but I took my pretentious twat hat off and did start realizing that actually if you take off that music critic thing out of your mind, like take it away, you can actually recognize some good stuff here, like the track with Playboi Carti. I like this one. Playboi Carti does his thing on here. I know I did a review for him earlier in the year and I trashed that album, but actually, you know what, some of you may be surprised to know that I went back to it and I kind of like it now. Yeah, I kind of like Carti now. It's weird, yeah. And they actually work quite well together. I like it. It's a good track, and I think it shows like a different style to Yachty on this album. It's like there's like a rap side and then there's a singing side, and sometimes he pulls off each side really well, and then sometimes it falls and just doesn't do well at all. One track did get me thinking though, whether Yachty could just start doing more features, and what he does, he kind of sings his bit and then gets other rappers on to do their bit because they're obviously way better at rapping than he is, and that is Who Want the Smoke with Cardi B and Offset. This track is good. Like, this is a really good track, and I think his hook and refrain is just so catchy. I don't know how it stays in my head for so long. Like, it's pretty crazy how it does, but yeah, and then Cardi B and Offset come through and kill their verses. Like, I was just thinking to myself, if he did this more often, how good would his music be? Like, this could be his sort of future route to go down, I would say. Who want the smoke? Who want the smoke? And I'm pulling out a few positives here because there are some positives, I must admit. But generally, the album is pretty samey. Like, the whole way through, there isn't really much in the way of change up in sounds. You either get Yachty pulling out some pretty average at best rap verses, or you have him doing some pretty nice singing. Like, it's just kind of that back and forth throughout the whole thing. The features, like I said, can be hit and miss, especially towards the end. Some features are good. Like, it's just kind of an album that goes up and down for me, but the overall aesthetic is pretty similar throughout, and I'm not really all that impressed with everything. I would say the closing track though, Stoney, might be one of the best songs here, like especially after that little run of bad songs. This was actually a really good closing track. Again, he's using his singing to his best ability here over a nice instrumental. It gets repetitive, but that's kind of his thing on this entire album, but it ends up working quite well. As positive as I can be for this album, 15 tracks to Yachty is not my thing. Like, I can't come around on this album saying that it's good, because it really just feels pretty redundant by the end, and I'm ready to kind of go on to something else and get it over and done with. But I do think he's genuinely come out with some really good songs here, some really nice moments, and we'll see where he goes from here. I feel like his next project could be better, but it could be complete shit. Like, that's the kind of thing you get with this guy, in my opinion anyway. So, you know, for what it is, it's pretty meh, but I'm taking away more highlights than I expected. It's a 5 out of 10 from me. I'm sorry, Josh, I know you're not going to like that, but what can you do, man? What can you do? Have a good day, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Let me know your thoughts on this album, if you liked it or if you hated it. Let me know. Have a good day. Goodbye.